Hi everyone, this is Adrian at 18 Echo SF. First, I'd like to wish everyone a very Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. And just in case I don't make another video before Christmas, which is about a week and a half away, almost 2 weeks I guess. Anyway, I thought I would do a video and just tell you a little story that I think maybe you might really enjoy. As I've mentioned several times in the past, I am former United States Army Special Forces, commo and weapons, and very proud of my past military service. I'm just an old guy now, so as I said before, and prior to going to the shooting school I've been attending up in just east of Los Angeles, ITTS, you know, the skills that I had as a young man, of course, are no longer there, but I like to think that I was pretty good at what I did back in those years. But anyway, I wanted to just tell you the story about a person, two people that I am very friendly with, and how it relates to my Special Forces background. And while I was on active duty, I didn't happen to know either one of them, but in about 1997 or 98, I was lucky enough to meet and become friendly with Colonel Roger Donlon. He's the first Medal of Honor recipient from the Vietnam War, and Roger and I have become fast friends over the past number of years. And I'll tell you how that came about as well. Roger lives in Leavenworth, Kansas with his lovely wife Norma, and my wife and I have visited them there and stayed at their home, and we get to go have dinner with them when they come and visit in California. Anyway, when I first met Roger, the very first time that I met him, he had come out here excuse me, to do a speech at a military academy for young guys called the Army Navy Academy, and which is in Carlsbad, California. And I told Roger I would be glad to pick him up at his daughter's home and drive him there if he'd like. And he said, sure, that would be great. And he said, and could you also do me a favor and drive my wife and I up to Colonel Erin Banks' home in San Clemente. Most of you probably don't know this, but Colonel Erin Banks was the founder and considered the father of United States Army Special Forces. Colonel Banks was one incredible man. He lived to be 101 years of age. He died on April 1st, 2004. And because I had driven Roger and Norma up to visit with the Banks, Colonel Banks and his wife Catherine, and since I happened to be the former SF guy who lived the closest to where they lived at that time in San Clemente, California, Roger asked me if I would mind taking it upon myself to stay in touch with the Banks and make sure that they were okay in their elderly years. And of course, I felt that was an honor more than anything. So I did that. My wife and I used to visit them in San Clemente and take them to lunch and just spend very enjoyable days with them. Well, over the next few years, the Banks, they left their home, moved into a retirement community, and Colonel Banks began to get dementia, and they both were aging nicely, but you know, they needed help around them. So I stayed in touch with them at least once a month. I would go visit them, sometimes just my wife and I, sometimes just myself, and at other times with some of my former mates from Special Forces in the local Special Forces Association chapter that I belonged to. So over a number of years, from about 97 up until 2004, I really became almost like family to the Banks. And one of the greatest honors of my entire life was being asked to be an honorary pallbearer at Colonel Banks' funeral, which was just really an incredible event, attended by many people from the military community, Special Forces, and and my friend who was the commander of the Bud School for the Navy SEALs at that time, Rick Smethers. It was really some funeral. And then Colonel Bank was buried at Riverside National Cemetery, and I still visit his grave, periodically. Anyway, so we'll back up a little bit. A few years before he died, there's another friend of mine who is currently still in active duty in the Special Forces National Guard unit, and this group, the 19th Special Forces group, trains periodically at Camp Pendleton, which is quite close to me. And this friend of mine, who was on active duty, he has a side business of doing some home construction projects, and the banks needed a new front door. So my friend offered to replace their front door for them at their home in San Clemente. And when he did that, he asked them if he could keep the door. And they said, sure. They were just going to throw it away. So he kept the old door. And about a year later, when his team was training at Camp Pendleton, he brought that door with him and set it up in one of the breaching things that they did for blowing doors with det cord completely surrounding the door, and then a close quarters combat team coming through the doors and clearing this room, which is an open room just with a frame around it. So I decided that I would bring Colonel Bank and his wife down to watch this, and it was really just a wonderful day. So they took the door from the Banks' home and they set it inside the frame of this clearing room, and put det cord completely around it, and of course we were back quite a ways. But the team then blew that door and then cleared the room, much to the delight of Colonel Bank. So I just wanted to show you, I had somebody a while back mention something about this poster that I have hanging over my left shoulder. And if you look, that poster has some writing on it, and it has some small bullet holes in it. They were simulation rounds, by the way. And that poster is signed by all of the members of that breaching team during that exercise. And Colonel Bank and his wife were kind enough to give that to me for taking them to the exercise. So I've kept it all these years, and of course I will never let it go. And one other thing that I was very privileged to receive after Colonel Bank died, and let me just get it down for you here, was this hat. And hopefully you can see it okay. And on the front it says South Carolina's Tribute to Special Forces, and it has a green beret on it. And if you look closely, maybe you can see it here, you'll see some marks. Hopefully you can see that. And those marks are the blood of Colonel Erin Bank. After he died, his wife gave me this hat as a thank you for being friends. I feel befriended by him, but being friends with the two of them. This hangs in my garage, right over my workbench, as you see. I see it every time I clean weapons, and I think of Colonel Bank often. As I said, he was one hell of a man. He was a member of the Jedburgh teams that jumped behind enemy lines into France in World War II, back when those things weren't really done. And then he was tasked after the war with founding Army Special Forces, since it was very much linked to the OSS. And Colonel Bank retired in 1958, excuse me again, but the reason that he never, of course, got beyond the rank of colonel, which is still a high rank in 06 in the military, but back in those years, if you were linked to Special Forces and didn't move on to regular Army units, your career was stymied for sure. So he had reached the rank of colonel, and that's where it ended when he retired. So I just thought you'd like to hear the story. I'm still friends with Catherine Bank. She is now 90 years old. I'm sorry, over 90. She's like 93. I still see her about every 2 months, and I consider it an honor and a privilege that I'm able to go visit with her and her family. She has 2 daughters that live nearby where she is and who visit her weekly. And I got to see her now about once every 2 months. You know, my background in Special Forces was nowhere near, of course, what Colonel Banks was or Colonel Donlon's, but to have both of them to have been considered my friends and to still have Roger as my friend is the ultimate compliment for me. So anyway, I just thought you might like to hear that as a nice, happy Christmas story, since there's a lot of stuff going on in the world that isn't so nice right now, and even in our own country. So again, Merry Christmas to you all, and stay well and safe out there.